I was just musing on something that I thought I'd just share arbitrarily. As I was reflecting on the Middle Ages, Dark Ages, which are coming up a little bit in my in a couple aspects of my work, study, and even my play. Um, I was thinking of the movie Braveheart. It's a badass film, right? And the more I reflect on it, because now it stands out more, right? Because Braveheart is filmed from a very humanist, historical sense, and it's not historically accurate just because it's a Scottish like monomyth, because they tied together like three different Scottish rebels against the British kind of situation. I think it was three, right? One of which was the namesake of William Wallace, and then there were others. And the story somehow averts a real chunk of culture, because I'm noticing that, like, obviously Wallace and his crew are pretty much pagan favorable, and they just kind of like made it not about like them being like free men that could live off to have their way, living off the land. They have their family as their family, right? And not to let all sorts of miscreants get a chance to have a terrible fuck to breed out people. Right? It's just like, you can, you zoom in, and so you've got the demonization of the church, but what they in the story, or the Christian independent king logic, if you will, and and then you've got all the Scotsmen, and it's just like, yeah, we're just a bunch of base guys who just want to live in the woods, leave us alone, right? It's obvious that they're not, quote, primitives. They're on the same level. They're economically different because they're in shock tactics. They're not like all sorts of uniforms. Then of course you got the war paint situation, and I'm just like, man, this film just didn't want to celebrate the paganism of the thing. I mean, these guys are all these guys are out there. It's, I guess it's like a Celtic mythos warriors story. It fits that bill, which Lugh is Lugh, I think it's Lugh is the proper way to say it, Lugh. So let me try and do that right. But Lugh, who I don't even know if Lugh is even much for Scotland. I mean, Scotland is kind of, I mean, like, I'm Scottish. I'm Purdy, Stephen Purdy, as many of you know, and I don't hide. Purdy traces back to Scotland under the crown, unfortunately, right? It's not a pagan name. It's a Latin. It's a Latin name. I mean, you could possibly say it's pagan, just because Latin is pagan. But it's so fucking sophisticated that it doesn't feel pagan, right? pagan languages, are more consistent with just something really, really archaic and working off of more primordial sounds, right? But Latin was the big language before Christianity in Rome too. So whatever. Either way, Latin is not original to Scotland, and so there's that, right? So Braveheart's got like a big pagan hole in it, right? It's just a big pagan-shaped hole in the movie Braveheart, and it's highly irritating to to see it not there, right? It's just like there's like that wedding scene in the beginning that kind of works, and then the war paint stuff. And that's really about it. You never see the guys invoking their gods or anything like that. And it's just like, I don't think that these guys were just some sort of, secular humanists. Like, not as like an overall culture thing. If they were, I don't think they would have truly quite banded together. Right? I mean, they would have common enemy and all that stuff. But, let's face it. I mean, this movie, it ends with this. It's like a secular inquisition, right? He's brought into the court in London, and the cardinal is there and all that bullshit, right? And I am sure at the very least, propaganda would have accused him of being gay, but not even the accusation of his paganism is there, right? Or at the very least, right? And I mean, no, seriously, like the accusation, like as in not even what his character is, just what other characters accuse him of. Like not even that is made, right? These are all factors. These are all factors that, even if it's not in the writing, you gotta look at the fucking culture. You gotta look at the time you're living in. You gotta look at the influence and understand that shit's going to actually be there. You can make it as a underlying thing, as like the murmurs of the crowd kind of situation. Of such a thing, right? There had to be something. I'm gonna have to crack open a history book I haven't cracked open in a while if I care about that answer, which I may not care about it this week, but it's something I'll look into. I do care. And so this is just indicative of the issues that plagued Hollywood with paganism. I mean, like when Braveheart was made, the only thing that happened anywhere near the release of that film was the 13th Warrior, and the 13th Warrior was excellent on the cultural side, a little way off, quite a way off on the spiritual side, but it's there. It's all, in absolute ways there. It's understood. It's a Muslim and then the pagans. And it's interesting thinking about the factors that got a film like that made, which, if I remember, 13th Warrior, was that Michael Crichton? I think it was Michael Crichton, right? The guy, Michael Crichton, the guy who was like Jurassic Park. Is that right? It was some, I forget, some writer wrote the book. And I think I remember 13th Warrior being not quite like his other books. But other than, you know, that, like, Michael Crichton was very, the reason why his books were so cool, like Jurassic Park, was, you know, he could put you in the shoes of a person being devoured by a velociraptor, right? I remember reading the book for the first time, and, like, you know, and you know, going through this adventure with this one guy. He's alone. It's narrated. You're in it from his point of view, like, and so, you know, you're getting his last thoughts. You're getting the last things he feels and sees and hears just before he dies, right? You know, I think like you know, I think Dennis Nedry, like, he explains how Dennis, like, now finds himself with his, like, he's feeling something slimy. He looks down. Oh my God, it's his guts. His guts have been ripped out, and now it's starting to hit him as he goes black. Like, shit like that. I'm like, whoa. It gives you the shivers. Like, whoa, that put me there. Right? That's Michael Crichton's brilliant writing. And so, I'd imagine that whatever book for the 13th Warrior was probably the exact same kind of thing. And I think that that's probably was the sole reason why people were at least interested in it. And then the rest was why this particular story, because it took quite a lot for you to become the writer that gets the movies out, right? You know, not everybody gets to be Michael Crichton and have a couple of his stories put to film, or the guy who did Hunt for Red October, or Stephen King, of course, and all these other writers that had to have their body of work adapted. And then with the issue of Braveheart, it puts you there in the secular humanist manner. And I think, you know, like, perhaps because Mel Gibson is a Christian, probably was a Christian at that time, and, you know, but also as an American, he didn't like, you know, he's a Christian who didn't like the cruelty of past ones who called themselves Christians under the papal decree. You understand, right? So, in a lot of ways, America does feel like a Camelot, right? Like, I was talking about the Green Knight in that other video I made the other day, right? And you know, it was a cool. I like the depiction of the hybrid Christian pagan Camelot and Europe, or British lands, the lands of Albion as a whole, right? They did a pretty good job in making it the magical thing that it is. And that reconciliation between the two, right? And that gets more into my attitudes about the Christos from the proper mystery school invocation of it. It's pre-Christian invocation of the Christos. There's too much. I got too much of a huge ass fucking problem with the entire disposition of invoking Jesus, talking about Christ. I don't know. Everything about it just makes it. It rings in your, like, it wrenches your chest. It wrenches your chest, like this threat to you being able to be comfortable and who you are and free of judgment for your personal decisions, because, you know, the baggage of the father comes with the son, especially in this particular context, because you have a father and a son that is everlasting, So I don't know. I think that one of the biggest problems with society is the invocation of Jesus, because it's the whole argument of Christianity being a spiritual bypassing mechanism, where you don't have to have any personal growth, and you know, fuck your value to everyone else around you, right? And so Christians seem to talk a big deal about your value to society or whatever, but that's really pagan concepts that certain Christians adopted, because there were always conservative pagans and there were always liberal pagans. I mean, 13th Warrior could be that story, where the tribe that they have to deal with is like liberal pagans, because liberal paganism back then in the wilds, meant cannibalism, human sacrifice, uh, 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 disease-riddled orgies, kind of like the debauchery that we have been seeing. And then the conservative pagans, where there still isn't the same silly moral argument that you get from the monotheists as such. That's a different ideal altogether. But echoes things that most, quote, conservatives are down with. And some say it was part of the basic rationale for many people that chose to convert. But then again, that also destroys their need to convert, because you can already see that they were fine as far as being an asset to life and society and everyone else, as well as their own personal developments and all that good jazz. Which is why they need the whole argument of the need for salvation, dying for your sins, and all these other things to make it insufficient that you figured it out already. You're not like the slaves. You're not like the rabble that it is meant for. But the world changed, and now Christianity is for everyone, not just the slaves. But anyway, I'll catch you guys later.